Hello there and welcome to a new episode of The Power of Surrender with Hugh, where every day we take a card from Dr Judith Orloff's deck here, The Power of Surrender, and we talk about it for your inspiration and for food for thought in these challenging times we're living in. So today's card is a particularly powerful card that I can absolutely speak to from experience. Surrender to what is. Now, I know that on face value, when somebody says to you, just surrender to the way it is, seems like, capitulating or giving in or being weak. But there are some times where you have to surrender to the way things are. And I'm going to give you the most simple example I can, which is when I first came here to London, my visa was not renewed, and so I had no choice. I could have, fought against the visa thing in America, but those battles tend to go on for years, and in the meantime you can't work, so not a good plan. So I kind of ended up in London was my choice, and as the first couple of months I was here, especially the first 6 months or a year, I was definitely pining to go back. I'm just, and as a result of that, then it was making me unhappy here because while I appreciated London at that time, I didn't feel like home to me, and I was always thinking about how am I going to get back. But then at a certain point, actually by listening to Abraham Hicks again, and they were talking about you've got to learn to love where you're at. In order for you to be able to get where you want to go. Because if you don't appreciate what you have at this moment where you're at, then it's very difficult to kind of go with the flow and move forward towards the things that you may want. So I remember just over a period of a couple of days thinking about that, and all of a sudden when I would see the planes flying over going to America, I wouldn't be like looking at going wishing I was on it. I'd be like, awesome, I'll go back when it's my time to go back. And really started to appreciate London and the friends that I'd made here, and London then just became home. Is it my ultimate home? I don't know. But I know that I love it now and I appreciate it in a completely different way. My life here has gone a lot smoother since I've made that kind of mental transition. A lot of awesome things happened, including getting this incredible apartment I'm in here right now. And I don't think that would have been possible if I hadn't switched over to start appreciating London and where I'm at right now and the things that I have. And so there's my little story for you with that. I'm going to read to you what it says on the card specifically, which is just echoing a lot of what I've said there, but I'm going to read it to you so you can hear it. It says, flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. Beautifully put by Dr. Orloff. And it is compassionately. Do you know what I mean? It's such an important word in there. And again, it's just like, this is the way it is. I'm living in London. At this moment in time, I can't go back to America. Accepting that. That doesn't mean I didn't say I'm never going back or I don't want to go back. I just said that, I'm at this moment in time, I can't go back. And so accepting those things, and that could change, I could book an acting job and be over there working in days or weeks. Things can turn around quickly. But the fact that I'm really, compassionately, it's almost like you have to give yourself a little hug and go, it's okay, you know what I mean? And you're not letting go of your dream of being in Los Angeles and living in Malibu and all that kind of thing. You're genuinely accepting and being grateful, and most importantly, being appreciative is the word I'm looking for. Being appreciative of where you're at. Now, that one particular example, it doesn't fit in for every single example you've got. You might find yourself in a relationship and you're kind of stuck in it, and you're like, oh my God, I hate this situation, and what have I done? And you can spiral so quickly thinking about the negative things. And that is definitely much more tricky. But sometimes it is kind of saying, okay, this is not going to be the way it's, I'm not happy, I don't like it the way it is, but this is not forever, okay? But where I am right now, in order for me to get to the place that I want to go, there's a certain amount of accepting what it is compassionately to yourself, to other people, and then you start to think, okay, well, this is the way that's going to be for a period of time, and during that time, I'm going to try and enjoy it more. I'm going to try and take a different perspective. I'm going to try and go with the flow a little bit more. Obviously, the next card we're going to be looking at is talking about getting out of unhealthy. Will it surrender I'll read it to you exactly, giving you a sneak peek of tomorrow. It goes, surrender unhealthy relationships. So there is a time, obviously, to surrender if the relationship is particularly unhealthy. You just need to walk away. But if it's a situation where it can be handled, you can be compassionate about it and get through, the period of time and appreciate where you're at that moment in time. Again, these words that I say are a little bit simple sounding when you say them. In practical application, they can be a lot more challenging. And so the idea of saying surrender, it's just we have this thing about surrender being defeat or like a loss. And I think that's where we're looking for the change. One of the reasons why surrender is an incredibly powerful word to me. It's one of the reasons why I love this deck and wanted to do this with each card in it. Because I had come to terms with the fact that surrender is not a bad thing. I remember being in acting class and I used to hate losing a scene. If somebody was saying something smart ass that I couldn't come back, and I would always come back with something quick. But one of the things that I noticed when I started to accept, like sometimes if my character in some improv has been like pounded or embarrassed, what I started to do is to fall into that. And so I would kind of sit back and allow the person to fire more. Now the audience is laughing and having a great time. Hugh, the person, is not winning, but I'm actually contributing to the situation and making it better. So sometimes and that's not necessarily an example for life, but the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes that's where I started to see, you don't have to win every argument. You don't have to be right all the time. You don't have to get that last word in. Sometimes, and this is, skipping back to what we're talking about here. I mean, it's just like, it's just surrendering is not a loss, and what is not a loss, It's such a difficult thing to wrap our brains around sometimes, but it's just accepting and compassionately understanding where we're at. And the acceptance is not a loss. The acceptance is going, okay, this is the way it's going to be for now. So I'm going to try and make the best of what I have here right now. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to appreciate where I'm at and then let things unfold as they will naturally. And sometimes you'd be amazed how things that seem like terrible situations will unfold themselves in ways that are even better than you could plan. I'm going to read this to you one more time just as we finish up here. Surrender to what is. How flow with what is instead of fighting it. So flow with what is instead of fighting it. Go downstream, as we've been talking about in many other cards. And then it's when you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. So compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. Because there's a great book called The Art of War, and it talks about, sometimes it's picking your battles. There is a time to fight and there is a time to step to one side, and the time to retreat and prepare for the battle later on. And sometimes in winning battles in life, I don't mean physical violent battles, but I mean in winning situations in life, sometimes what to do is to actually do nothing and accept compassionately where you are, and know that doesn't mean that things aren't going to change and aren't going to get better. It just means that you're going to feel better and things are going to start flowing around you better, as opposed to being tight and then everything becomes a problem and everything just gets worse. I have a lot to say about this card today. I hope you enjoyed watching. Hope you got some food for thought and inspiration from it. I'll be back again with another episode. Remember to watch my daily cards also on Instagram at Hugh Readings. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and boom.